Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Neiman's Bogus Hangout. Have everybody introduce themselves. Zara?
Hi, I'm Zara Altair, and I write.
Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Grenzer of Steam Driven Media, and I play games on my phone.
Doc Sheldon, and I just bitch about how cold it is.
And I'm Bill Slosky. I'm the author of SEO by the Sea and the director of SEO research at Go Fish Digital. And I drink coffee.
I'm going to go get mine right now.
Well, how you been doing, Steve? What's new?
Doing good. Just, as far as work goes, just trying to keep clients in line and, understanding how things work. And it's always fun. We're onboarding a couple of new clients this week, and that's always a fun thing where we tell them, no, we can't start running your ads until we have all the tracking in place and we have all these other issues sorted out. It's like, well, no, just start. I can do that. They won't help. You're just throwing money in a hole, but
Yeah.
It's always a good conversation to have. And another client just sold his business and his website and the whole bit, so I get to help on the transition team with that, and that'll be fun. That's always a good time. Hopefully the new owners will see the value and keep me on, and if not, that's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Been on that side of the coin a few times. So, but it's always good to see clients cash out and be a part of that process.
The last time I had a client sell the business, it was 2 weeks after I delivered an audit to them.
Yeah.
And they sold to Google, who
Wow.
had no interest in having SEO done on their site.
Sure. Sure, that doesn't apply to them. Now, it was exciting. About 3 years ago, we helped a guy sell his website for about $1 million, and was really excited to be a part of that. And then 6 months later, another guy cashed out for an extra zero on top of that, and that was real exciting. Now we're back down at normal scale on this one, which not quite so much money, but it's still fun.
Yeah,
it's still good to be a part of their success and seeing them find a way to move on and do something new.
How long were those other sites around for?
One of them, the one that we helped sell for $1 million, had been around since the mid-90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
And had gone all the way up to the top of the heap and then all the way back down to the bottom with all the new, as Google started rolling out penalties and algorithm changes in the mid-2000s, and walked them through the whole process of recovery and get them back up to a point where the website was worth $1 million and somebody offered it to him and he cashed out. So that was fun. The other one was just corporate people buying up smaller, competition and rolling them into the fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a fun process. I was involved in an $80 million sellout one time offline back in the 80s. I was part of the negotiating team and then the transition team, and man, it was a learning process. I mean, it's more than just looking at the books and taking inventory. I learned a lot during that.
The most fun I've had with that is when my dad sold his business. I happened to be in town during the transition, and basically all the owners were leaving, new owners were coming in, and they were going to keep their two top management people on board as part of the transition.
Yeah.
And then Monday morning, neither one of them showed up to work.
Ooh.
So the new owners walked in. Yeah, new owners walked into a new business with no idea what was going on, and the people who were supposed to guide the process simply were not even didn't call. They were no-shows.
Wow.
And Dad and I are sitting there going, well, now what do we do?
Whoa.
Because the new owners are freaking out. And Dad's like, technically, not my problem.
Yeah.
Ethically, it's a whole nother issue. And so we sat down and got to work. And then the 4 days I was there for my vacation, we helped with all the transitions and sorting out stuff. And then we found out why the former management team left. And yeah, that's like, oh, so when they did all the audits and the new accounting, they would have found all these things. So that explained why people left, but it's just a pain. But it was still entertaining.
So their history almost caught up to them.
Yeah. Well, when you find pay managers' desks that were like doctor's notes from 6 years ago, it's like, why is this still on a desk?
Yeah.
Things don't make sense here. First of all, it should have never been on his desk. Second of all, why is it 6 years old? And then we found they were handwriting POs, and it was just nobody knew what was going on. It was nuts. But
So it's one of these situations where having a new owner means new faces to handle the issues and the problems and so on. And they could turn around business. At least that was possibly the initiative behind making the transition, the change, the purchase.
Yeah. Well, it turned out they'd been doing POs for 4 or 5 years this way, and just had PO books scattered all over the building. I mean, it was like wherever he picked up the phone is where he wrote the order. And we were finding orders that made sense because, you get phone calls going, where's my stuff?
Yeah.
And go, what stuff? And then you'd find a PO from 6 months ago that never got turned in. It's like, oh, yeah, well, there goes that client.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was a mess, but fortunately they were able to get out of it and recover, and the new owners are doing well. So the transition finally ended up cleaning itself up, but it was not an easy gig. And I didn't get paid for that one either. That one, you know how it is when it's family. It's like, oh, okay, sure, just feed me. That'll be good. And we're going somewhere nice.
Ties, tails, top hat.
Yeah. No, we're going down to the 19th hole again. You can only eat so much tavern food.
I was part of a turnaround team for a corporation here in California a few years back that they were trying to get ready for an acquisition to sell out, and it was an Australian company that bought them, and they sent a team. Their due diligence team. Most of the members on their due diligence team, after the offer had been made and accepted, they were part of the transition, and they sent them over, and I was impressed with the expertise and the thoroughness and the professionalism. They really sent a crack team that asked all the tough questions and kept pushing until they got the right answers, and they did a hell of a job, and really made a strong effort to keep as much of the long-term talent on board as possible. They weren't interested in paying moving expenses from Melbourne to Los Angeles, but they also recognized that where their market was, they were better off with culturally sensitive Americans handling their production. And that was the company that I went to. When I got there, they had just found out that out of 800 and some employees, they had almost 55% were illegal aliens.
Oops.
Oh.
And in a period of, and I was a plant manager, and in a period of 2 months, we let all of them go and replaced them, and we're able to recover our production levels and actually improve them by in reducing down to about 710, 712, I think it was, people. It was a painful transition, but it ended up being a good thing in the long run for us.
Yeah.
But we had, some of those illegal aliens had been with the company for 12, 14 years.
Ooh, that's tough.
And that hurts, good people, supervisors, and even a couple of managers, and it sucked. But for the company, it ended up being a good thing, and it showed such a positive, a reverse cliff chart on our bottom line that it really kind of closed the deal on selling the company.
The first agency I worked at, one of the tasks I was involved with was going down to a in-office visit with a client whose company had bought their next biggest competitor, and then 6 months later bought their next biggest competitor. And they had no idea how to combine the 3 sites for SEO purposes. Mm-hmm. So they wanted help with that. And their next 2 biggest competitors did most of their business because of brand names were really well known. So they wanted to continue capturing that brand business. So part of it was doing SEO was continuing their websites and announcing the transition, the purchasing on by the other company, and giving clients a choice between which products they bought, because they could still buy the old products or they can move over to new ones for a while.
That can be kind of a minefield. That must have been an interesting process.
It was computer security type stuff. The company made those security dongles that you plug into the back of your laptops, or the software doesn't work unless you don't have a dongle plugged in.
I remember those days. I had a computer that had about 6 of them daisy chained together on a parallel port. Had to move the computer out from under the desk because the dongles got so long it wouldn't fit under the desktop.
No. When I worked for the court reporters had real-time translation software on their laptops. They would type into the sonography machine, and it would translate that into words that would appear on a monitor. And the software cost $5,000. Well, it didn't. Software was basically free. The security dongle.
Yeah, the dongle.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we gotten mostly away from those. Now the big thing, RFID tags on your key ring again. There was a wave on that in the late 90s, especially in like the medical fields.
Yeah. And
we found out the nurses were just tossing all their badges in their desk drawer so that they didn't have to worry about losing it. But they just, they cared less about security and more about being able to get the job done quickly.
Well, at one point in time, Walmart was requiring all their merchants who provided stuff to them to have RFID tags on those products for tracking purposes and inventory stuff. And RFID tags are really helpful for inventory. I researched them for the court I worked at because we wanted to track our files. We kept on having to hunt down files that would get misplaced, and sometimes spending days looking for case files, which is not a good thing when it's like a criminal case or civil case that's worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, I would imagine that kind of thing could give a clerk high blood pressure in a hurry.
Yeah.
Start getting some judge all over your back because they can't find a file. We changed from barcode stickers on our in-house, our warehouse inventory over to RFID, and the actually going through the warehouse and putting tags on product was a major undertaking. But man, once it was done, it was like a godsend.
Yeah.
My first real job as a kid was working in a doctor's office, and all I did was put files away all day. It was one of the most mind-numbingly boring jobs in the world. But as you know, as a 16-year-old kid who needed to put gas in his car, I didn't care. I had gas money for the weekend and knew my alphabet really good. Oh yeah.
One of my first jobs was doing filing at NASA.
Oh no.
I was a student, whatever, and I was in a room full. It was all women, and they gossiped all day long. And so, when I had done the filing according to the alphabet, etc., there were memos and things that needed to be distributed to people. It would be like 5 different people had to get the same memo, and so they wanted to stay and keep gossiping. So I had to go out and take these memos to all these people. There was no email, obviously. And it was amazing because I went everywhere at NASA. I went to the wind tunnels and the centrifuge and watched astronauts swirling around and all this stuff. And it was actually fairly interesting, not the filing part, but the other part, and meeting all these people.
Sure.
I got busted though once. I rode my bicycle over on a Saturday, and my bicycle wasn't cleared for entrance.
Yeah.
So I got stuck at the gate, and there was like somebody had to come vouch for me and my bicycle so I could come in and go to work.
So you were a security threat.
My bicycle was a security threat. I'd already been cleared. I am not now, you still had to do this then. I am not now, nor have I ever been a member of the Communist Party. All that stuff.
I sent a Freedom of Information Act request to the Delaware Department of Justice for their 1953 Communist Registration Act. I asked them if anybody had ever been prosecuted for it.
Have they?
They sent me a reply back. They said, no one has ever been prosecuted for that.
But just in case.
And it was like one of these, if you are a card-carrying member of the Communist Party or have a leaning towards that, you need to register with the Delaware state government.
Ah, okay.
Failure to register carries
Good old McCartney got that ball rolling, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, hi. I got my card here. I need to register. I mean,
let me know how that worked out for you.
It was in the 1990s, so it was long after 1953 when the act came out. So I was curious as to whether or not it was still something enforced, because why didn't they get rid of it?
Of course, now you've been flagged.
There are still card-carrying communists. So was it enforced, or was it just on the books?
They never prosecuted anybody for it.
Okay, ever. Whoa. Okay.
Of course, now for having asked the question, you're probably flagged as a potential closeted communist.
I took the risk.
Wow. I mean, I really can't imagine very many people showing up to do that.
I don't know. They get plenty of people to show up to like the hotel with the free TV giveaway, and they send out the free TV giveaway coupon to everybody they're trying to find to arrest. And all these people who have warrants out for their arrest show up for their free TV. It's like, oh.
I don't think we ever did that. We had other ways. We did other things. Like Delaware was known for its jump up squads. Police cars would drive around town, and whenever they saw large gatherings of people on street corners, like the car would stop in the middle of the road, 5 cops would jump out, and they'd start chasing people. If people ran, that's probable cause.
Yeah.
To pursue them and tackle them. That's what they tell the judges.
Where
And they get away with it.
was that, Bill?
Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, Wilmington, Delaware. Okay.
And from a logical standpoint, as a former cop, yeah, I would consider that to be probable cause.
Yeah.
I got out of my car and he ran. Yeah, I think I need to talk to this boy.
Car stops in the middle of the road, 5 police officers jump out, they start chasing you. Yeah, you're gonna run.
Of course, the ACLU, I'm sure, would be real quick to jump on that one.
Yeah. They didn't like it.
I don't know. I
I mean-
think it's still viable, probable cause.
I used to go through the DUI roadblocks in New Mexico
Yeah.
at 3 a.m. going home from work, because I used to have the Domino's restaurant.
Yeah.
And you get stopped. And I'm in a Jeep with no top, no doors.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I'm wearing the pizza shirt. And they're like, so what are you doing out this late at night? So, driving. Where are you going? That way. Mind if I search your vehicle? Yes. You are aware you can look and see my entire vehicle, right? Except for this one little console, and I'm not opening it. Well, by refusing to open that, you've now given me probable cause. Would you like to challenge that in court? And then somebody with higher rank would walk up and go, quit screwing with the pizza guy. You know he feeds us, right? And guarantee which cop's not going to get free pizza this week.
There you go. Take a wild guess on that one, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Then again, for a long time, if you were wearing a pizza uniform, you could go anywhere on a military base. I had guys who would tell me that the weirdest places they'd gotten into is because somebody'd say, well, just take it to that guy. And next thing you know, they're getting buzzed through doors they should not be going through. And it's like, wow. If you wanted access, get a pizza.
And that's social engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching Czar. It took me a moment to figure out what that was.
What that was, yeah.
I could just barely see it. Every once in a while, I'd see this white thing wiggle in the air, and it's like, what is going on?
The kitty boy. He's 17 years old. He ignores me most of the day, and then every once in a while, it's petting time. It's petting time now, and pets will not be denied. And end of story.
So you have one boss.
Yeah. Well, the kitty that I had before, well, they were concurrent, but that one died. But he was the boss of the whole house. He was. I used to call him the Austrian kitty. This 8:02 and the kitty food is not here. What is happening?
My neighbors' dogs are like that. At 3:59, they wake up. At 4 o'clock, they're standing next to their dish, and at 4:01, they're barking. lays here and sleeps.
My other kitty, his domain is the bedroom, and he's hardly ever out here.
Yeah. And my daughter was fostering cats, and
Yeah.
the last litter she took in, they weren't able to place, so she's got like 12 cats.
Oh my gosh.
It's entertaining to go visit her house.
Wow, 12 cats.
You have to check the chairs real careful.
Yeah.
And then if you sit in the wrong chair, you wind up with 2 or 3 cats fighting on top of you in an effort to get you to move out of their chair.
No.
That's incredible. When I was in graduate school, I shared a house with 2 women, and we had quite a collection of animals. There were 3 dogs and 6 cats, and momentarily there were kittens, but I thought that was a lot. But 12 cats is a lot.
And 2 dogs. A little tiny Chihuahua and a Great Dane Mastiff cross.
Covered the whole spectrum, right?
No kidding.
So the second one's called Tiny.
I don't remember. What's this? The big one. The big one's name is Bow. They needed a short name that they could yell fast.
Sit. His name is Sit.
Yep.
So have any of you gotten caught up with these featured snippets and your organic results getting taken off the first page because you have a featured snippet?
I know
It's
that's
not affecting what I know.
I haven't seen it particularly.
No. Google said if you have a featured snippet, you don't need to have the
Here's
same
a result from the web.
You don't need to have the same result on the first page because it's already in the position 0, which we're renaming position 1.
Right. Oh, I missed the renaming position 1. So now it's called position 1.
Yeah. And for a little while, that organic result was appearing at the top of the second page, but Google claims that was a bug. They didn't mean to do that.
So it only appears on the first page.
It only appears on the first page at the featured snippet level. It's no longer an organic result, too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what you get. Featured snippet.
And Danny Sullivan announced that on Twitter. He said they were uncluttering search results, which made me think of the organizer who's a best-selling writer, who says if you don't like something, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. So if your search results weren't sparking joy, they were getting removed.
I see.
Sparking joy seems like a high bar.
Yeah.
Especially in search results. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what Google quite intended to mean when they were talking about high quality.
I really don't think the joy entered their thought process.
No. Just decluttering. It's, I guess, to get tired of saying adding more diversity to search results, which is a line they've been using for a long time when they talk about things like domain clustering, trying to limit the number of results from one domain. I did a search the other day, included the name of my site, and all the search results were from my site. It wasn't a site operator search either.
For SEO by the Sea?
Yeah. So they recognize a site as an entity, and they did an entity association type thing. And that still happens sometimes, some searches. But this monitoring of featured snippets and removing sites because you have a featured snippet, not quite sure I like that, but it did make me happy to see a couple results I had where I was doing what some people have called keyword cannibalization,
Mm-hmm.
where you have more than one result optimized for the same query term. And for a couple of those where I was getting featured snippets for the first one, and the second one was also ranking. The second one moved to right below the featured snippet. So
But that is not the case anymore?
I was still getting a featured snippet, and I'm still getting one
Okay.
search result instead of two, but having both of those on there is good. So keyword cannibalization in that situation isn't necessarily a bad thing.
And does that show up when you search on a mobile device? Does the same thing happens?
Yeah. Yeah, Danny announced that he said this is going global right now. So I checked a number of them. And for some of them, the result would disappear from the first page and start appearing at the top of the second page. And I don't know if it's still doing that, but
So the featured snippet is on the first page, but then the results show up at the top of the second page.
for a little while they were doing that.
But now they're not doing that.
Featured snippet would usually be from one of the results on the first page.
Yeah.
So if you're in the top 10, you stood a chance of getting a featured snippet.
Okay.
And they got rid of that result that wasn't the featured snippet. But before they did, it was showing up at the top of the second page, and it wasn't supposed to.
I see. So that is not now the case anymore.
Right. It's not supposed to be the case. Yeah, they didn't quite code that correctly. See if it's still doing that. No, it's still showing up at number 2 on the first result on the second page. So they haven't quite fixed it yet. I'd say you still have some decluttering to do.
Yeah. Well, you know what else that is doing aside from decluttering, if it's not showing up in the search results except as a featured snippet, it is like training Google search users to go to the featured snippet as opposed to looking at the featured snippet and looking at
It's
down
it's
below.
it's not necessarily drawing more attention to the featured snippet, so it's not necessarily benefiting that in any way.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, and it is like I just said it incorrectly. Is it's not drawing attention to the featured snippet, but the featured snippet in the decluttered mode is the only search result. So in my head, I'm thinking that, well, so if they're doing this is for desktop searching and stuff, that they're focusing more on featured snippets as the result. The result.
It's okay. So featured snippets aren't going away. So
No, they're not going away. But it's what I'm saying, that they're giving them the number one placement, because if you're on mobile only, then you're going to get the featured snippet as the answer.
But it doesn't necessarily emphasize that featured snippet as something that is of higher quality or something like that.
Right. It's only
because what's being taken away is one of the other regular snippets. So you're not necessarily sending a message to searchers saying, hey, this is more important now because it's the only version of this page.
Unless you're on a mobile device. Or not mobile, but voice. Unless you're in voice, then you're only going to get the featured snippet.
Yeah, if you're talking to
your
Google Assistant.
Yeah.
Mine seems to get
so maybe I need to rephrase my statement as saying, so it's an emphasis on the featured snippet as the answer. I know there's a big debate about, is voice search really as big as people are saying it is, and all that, but in the voice world, it is the featured snippet.
Somebody made up the statistic that in the year 2020, 50% of all searches will be voice searches.
Right.
They just made that up, and nobody's taking credit for it anymore. But it doesn't appear to be that's the case.
No.
And that's regardless of how many speaker devices there are.
Well, Bill, I think it's like, wasn't this on Twitter this morning about, what the length of an article should be? It must be 1,000 words or something like that. And, that argument keeps going on.
That argument's been going on for a couple of years.
Yeah, it has, but it keeps popping up.
Like there are people who do studies with. We looked at 19 billion blog posts.
Yeah.
Blog posts with more than 2,000 words tend to rank higher than other blog posts. So length is a ranking factor because, we're going to confuse correlation and causation.
Really?
And all of this started from a single comment from Matt Cutts. All of them years ago. Well, he had made the comment that they had done their own internal study on blog spam and had determined that of all the data they collected, if a blog post was of a certain length and it was somewhere in the 300 to 400 word count range, it was more likely to be spam than not. And that's where all this, how many words in a blog, should a blog post be, started. Because all of a sudden people started going, oh, well, if 400 is the spot where they call you spam, then it should be 600. And then it, you know, and it just evolved from there. And it's like, no, please stop. You guys are, you know, how long is a string kind of problem?
I used to work as a poet in the schools, and used to say a poem is of necessary length, and I think that's true for articles as well.
I used to point out to people, one of my friends had a page that ranked #1 for a search term that got stupid amounts of traffic, and it was how big is a millimeter? He had less than 100 words on the page. How big is a millimeter?
Oh,
you would not believe the amount of traffic. His website, he had a jewelry website, and just got a ridiculous amount of traffic from a couple of words of text, and then pictures of U.S. coins and how many millimeters they were. And he never got any sales off that. I mean, but it was one of those things that I like to point to people and say, look, if word count was a thing, then this page should not rank because it's got less than 50 words on it.
And if he indicated return on investment, he would have been a millionaire, but no.
Exactly.
Yeah, John Mueller had an example, I don't know, months ago of the same thing, a really short thing that was ranking. So it isn't about word count at all.
Yeah.
But the argument still goes on. I couldn't even believe it when I saw that. You know, I was like, oh, man, you know, it's like myths just continue to prevail.
Well, I mean, and I don't know if you saw the little exchange on Twitter between Alan and John Mew, where made a comment about links and PDFs are the next big thing in SEO, even printed PDFs. And John Mueller liked the tweet. And then there was a comment. It's like, can you give me more details or an explanation, please? And it's like, okay, now we know how these types of rumors get started.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody who's empowered, theory and likes the joke. Boom! Now it's a thing.
Now,
in all fairness, Steve, even if John had not liked the tweet, it probably would have been more people jumping in there asking for more info.
This is probably true, although
you don't need any celebrity to back it up in order to attract interest.
So some of the responses on Facebook were pretty hysterical.
Oh yeah.
The schema.org website has some examples that are HTTP instead of HTTPS. So that has some people really upset. And people who run the website say, well, not only are those URLs, but they're also identifiers of elements. And we can't just change them willy-nilly. And they're pointing at specific things on the web that
it's kind of like some of these people that are arguing about should they be trying to rank for the phrase "near me."
Yeah, optimize your page, and you're the.
That's not how it works.
You're the near me plumber.
Yeah.
The near me plumber. Well, that's like, websites who have Plumber is a good example, you know. Jay's Plumbing in Carlsbad, Oceanside, you know, out of that, you know, that's the name of his business as far as he has it up on the website.
Jim Bob's Locksmith in Carlsbad and Oceanside.
Yeah.
Because we like
And Solana Beach. Yeah. So I see that very frequently, especially with service. So plumbers and anybody who does any kind of service stuff, they load it up with location keywords.
Somebody took a Google My Business Guru class.
A Google My Business what class?
Guru.
Oh, Guru. Oh, well, they're an expert.
$199 to watch a 45-minute video, and now I know everything.
Ah, Valley Jewess.
So that's like back in the days when people used to optimize for the phone book, and they'd call their plumbing service Aardvark Plumbers.
Yep. And then AAA plumbers and quadruple A plumbers, and yeah.
And they find every postal annex store that has mailboxes for them, and they register those as offices and register them with Google My Business as at their locations.
You know what? I thought Google My, I haven't been paying too much attention to Google My Business for a while, so I could be wrong, but that Google My Business would remove those post office offices. That it has to be a physical place, not just a post office. Because otherwise you could set up your Google My Business office at postage stamps and more, or whatever it's called, you know.
UPS stores. The other side of that coin, though, is when you have legitimate businesses like real estate agencies where only the broker's everybody else is a contractor, but they all work out of the same office.
Right.
So only the broker gets a listing. So we've been helping people find workarounds for that for a while now, and so far it's been successful. Usually the GMB gets suspended, then you run it through a manual process and they re-enable it, and it's okay. But
they re-enable it for the individual agents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I have seen agents steal listings from the broker because the broker wasn't smart enough to set it up before the agent did. And the agent goes, "Mine." I got your first.
This broker is screwed. All right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like some of the people who make these rules have never been outside in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Don't
they have no
problems like that?
I think that's true for medical offices. Yes, where there's several people have the same address for the.
And what's sad is they say, well, you know, you should just have a single listing for the practice. It's like, but that's not how people find doctors. Doctors look, or people who are looking for a doctor look for a specific doctor. They don't look for a general practice. You know, they get Dr. Smith recommended to them, so they're looking for Dr. Smith.
They are looking for Dr. Smith, yeah.
You know,
they're not looking for the GP or the oncologist or whatever. Yep.
And that's true
exactly.
with lawyers too. People
Yeah.
search for specific lawyers, not law firms.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's a struggle, and it's ridiculous that it's the way it is. It's almost like somebody was afraid to create an extra column in a database table somewhere.
I wonder
Yeah,
if
that
there's
does
some
feel like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
I wonder if there's some untapped potential there for some special schema markup when you have 4 different doctors' names in the same practice to actually get them all some visibility.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know one of the new regional medical centers that they built, there are no suite numbers. It's one address for the building, and when the mail's delivered, it gets the mail delivered to a central spot, and then one person, they have somebody there in a mail room whose job it is to distribute the mail throughout the building.
Universities,
And that's-
Fire marshal cool with that? How does the fire department know where to go, or the police department?
Well, it's a small building. It's not like
Okay.
it's not like we're in West Tennessee. There's no 2-story buildings out here.
universities do that too. They have a mail department, and they have potentially lots of buildings, but the mail all goes one place.
It gets frustrating. But then when we built our second big building out here, when we built our property, we had to get a address before they'd bring electricity out to us,
Yeah,
which
right?
makes sense. And the sheriff's department who assigns the addresses. They come out, do a GPS reading, and boom, there's your address. And that was fine for the 2 years that all we had out here was my workshop. And then we built the house and wanted to have power brought to the house, and the electric company said, well, you need another address. And it's like, what do you mean I need another address? The house is 112 feet from my shop, and they come down the same driveway. And she said, nope, that's what it has to be. Call the sheriff and tell them. So I called the sheriff and said, here's what the electric company told me. And the nice lady at the sheriff's department said, I'll fix this for you. Hold on. And she called the electric company and raised hell. So, I mean, but yeah, the whole addressing thing I understand why they did it. I just think they had such a piss poor execution of it that, or even try to remove a listing. Why keep a listing for a business that's been out of business for 4 years, 7 years? You can't get rid of them. They're there forever. And then when somebody else goes into that building, they have to fight like hell to get that address separated.
Right, the old one is still there. Yep.
It's a colossal pain in the ass sometimes.
I'm trying to close down my father's business.
Yeah.
He started in 1993. He's in New Jersey. Somebody in New York State started up a business like 10 years later in New York and decided he was no longer going to run his business after 4 years. And he sent a certificate of dissolution to New Jersey for the business. So New Jersey closed my father's business. My father continued to run the business for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
And now he's passed away, and unfortunately I have to close the business. Except it's already closed because a guy from New York closed it by mistaking the state that he was doing business in. He was incorporated in.
He was incorporated in New Jersey, but doing business in New York.
My father was incorporated in New Jersey and doing business in New Jersey. This guy was incorporated in New York and sent a certificate of dissolution to New Jersey to close his business.
Mm-hmm.
They closed my father's business. They didn't tell my father. He kept on doing business.
Bureaucracy is just so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
I was
pretty
executor when my mom passed away, and 5 years after her death, started getting letters forwarded to me from the court, from the probate court, for her tax audit. That they were going to audit her because she had failed to file taxes for the, like 3 and 4 years previous. And I sent them back a letter, and I said, well, she, first of all, yes, you're right. She did fail to file taxes because she died 2 years before that. Okay, so kind of an oversight on her part. I was really snotty. I said an oversight on her part. We plea your forgiveness, and please scratch her name from your files. And I got back a form letter that you must report such and such a date to this court. Basically a subpoena, and bring all your files with you. Oh, so I ended up having to call them, and I ended up going up 3 levels before I finally found somebody that was capable of verifying that they actually had in the files in their office her death certificate. And so therefore their audit was probably not necessary.
I went through something similar when my grandfather passed away because he and I have the same name. And it was like 2 or 3 years after he passed away, I started getting all kinds of mail. People wanting to sue him for failure to pay on certain things, and people, oh my God, it was ridiculous. It got to the point where I just started screwing with people because I could. What are you going to do to the old guy? He's been buried for 3 years. It wasn't me.
Do not make me and my coven visit you in the dark.
Yeah, bureaucracy is really crazy. When my aunt died, I think it took 4 years to close the estate. She didn't even have a business, but she had timeshares. Those are nightmares.
I sent the New Jersey Division of Revenue a letter explaining all this, sent them the certificate of incorporation and the death certificates of the 2 guys who were in the business. They both passed away. And sent them the New York State entry for the business with the same name, and the certificate of dissolution that was sent to New Jersey that they closed my father's business with, saying, somebody talk to me, please. They've ignored me. I mean, I sent it to them about a year ago.
They're still ignoring it?
Yeah, I need to talk to a probate judge to get him to yell at me.
Is there some reason why you need to go through the process of even closing it at all, or?
There are two. There's a corporate bank account with some money still left in it.
Okay.
I need to make myself the chairman of the board of the company so I can say the bank account's closed and the bank can give the money to the beneficiaries.
Right. Okay.
And once I do that, and close the business, I can report it to the Division of Revenue that it no longer exists and it can be dissolved. But all the taxes need to be taken care of, which may mean that I have to pay them $500 a year from the time they dissolve the company incorrectly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
On those years.
Yeah.
What a mess.
That's why so many businesses out here where I live are just cash businesses out of pocket, and they don't bother with any of the crap. It's just not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
Although I have gotten stuff from the state of Tennessee before saying, "Oh, well, you missed a payment, and based on our estimates, you owe $7,000." It's like, no. Every quarter when I file with you, that number is less than $100. How did it go from $100 a quarter every quarter for the last 7 years, and now it's $7,000 because I missed a payment?
Well, The registration fee, the yearly registration fee for the business is supposed to be $50 a year. And if you
Right.
fail to pay it, they penalize you by charging you $500 a year. So I'm expecting them to send me a letter saying you owe $500 a year for the past 15 years. And I'm going to send them a letter saying, no.
We didn't close the business. You did.
Yeah. Talk to the guy in New York.
Yeah.
Somebody from your office wrote my father's business number on this certificate of dissolution that the guy from New York sent in. So it's your fault.
Yeah. It's like a friend of mine. He had some form of cancer that's like 99.9% terminal.
Yeah.
And managed to beat it. And was that about a year after he had finally beat it all his benefits got shut off. And he's like, what's going on? Well, somebody down at the VA marked him as deceased because nobody survives this.
Oh, whoa.
2 months getting that fixed. And then the next year they did it to him again. And so that's when he quit being nice about it and volunteered. Since he was dead already, they can't actually do anything to him. He would come down and start beating people until someone solved the problem.
Part of God's coven.
The strangest things people do who are button mashers.
Boy, no kidding.
It's like, I'm not sure where you got the authority to declare him deceased, but you can't do that.
The hurdles that I jumped through to get copies of death certificates to prove that somebody passed away. And they're
Yeah.
just signing people off as being passed away like that.
It's one or the other.
Yeah. My aunt also had oil well revenue royalties from, the oil that came out. Those were nightmares. Those were in Texas.
Those are the type of things that should be inheritable.
Yeah, they are, but whoa. So I learned how to talk slowly to explain what happened to my aunt. Because, I have this piece of paper here. And that was the only way to do it. You cannot do straight business stuff because that's just how it worked. And it still took forever. All that stuff. And I know years ago now, I talked to my son and I said, when I die, X, Y, and Z. And he says, Mom, I really don't like this conversation. And I said, we're having it now because we're doing it once and we're getting it all taken care of. And, here's a copy of the will. I mean, it's really simple. It's like, I have 2 kids. That's it. But and when I was a financial advisor, it was just amazing how many people don't do any kind of estate planning. I mean, even the simplest people. My aunt died intestate. That was part of the problem. Mm-hmm. So, and, she had a girlfriend. I know she had a will, but, nobody had it. So, it's just so important for people, and people don't like to think about dying, so they kind of, I'll do it later kind of stuff.
When my grandfather passed away, he was at odds with the family for quite a few years, and he died without a will. but he was also from that generation that didn't trust banks.
Mm-hmm.
His money was in boxes hidden all over the place. And I happened to be in the hospital while he was talking to his 2 girlfriends and telling them where the money was hidden so they could go get the money. And then I kept my mouth shut. And then after he passed away, I got the joy of watching the rest of my family hunt for money that I knew was not there.
Oh my gosh, that's
I
hysterical.
love it.
Oh, that is so.
Because my grandfather was one of those guys, if it was a deal, he bought it. Didn't matter what it was. I found a box with license plate date stickers.
Yeah.
Don't know where he got that. And he had a warehouse that had like 230 avocado vanity sinks for bathrooms from the 70s.
Oh my god.
He got them for a deal. And so he bought them, put them in the warehouse. Someday, somebody's going to wear them.
Bathroom sinks.
These will come back.
They'll come back. They'll be valuable, Steve. Just hang in there.
Yeah, I'm not letting go of these 78 records, man. These things will come back.
And gold shag carpets. You'll be in.
That's just it. Go to a flea market, put a $10 price tag on them. You'll sell them all day long. Yeah, the whole wills and all of that stuff. Fortunately, we've just got the one kid, and we tell everybody who tells us we overbuilt our house, it's not our problem, it's our kid's problem. She'll never get what you paid to have it built. So, well, I don't care. I built what I wanted. I didn't build to sell. If I was building to sell it, I'd have built something entirely different than what I built.
Right, exactly.
In the meantime, if she chooses to move here after we die, that's her choice. So
I didn't expect to sell 2 houses in a year and a half like I did.
Oh, Bill, that's a lot.
It's a family home and then a vacation home that did a short sale on. So I was surprised they accepted the short sale because they had a tenant in the property. You ran the property down as much as possible. And the house wasn't worth much, but it was in a great location in the Poconos. Somebody from New York City said, on a vacation home in the Poconos. I'll pay a lot more money than what it's worth, and we'll put a house up there. And mortgage company was happy.
Yeah.
So it's the little things like getting the company dissolved that he owned that's taken forever.
Well,
It is the little things that take, well, in my case it was, that take forever.
my father-in-law died intestate now coming up on 9 years ago in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately started all the court proceedings, and there's 7 siblings, to be divided up amongst them. Mother-in-law is dead as well, so it's just them, and it's still in process.
9 years. Okay.
And the way it's run down here, even though he died, even if he had died with a will, some illegitimate kid can show up and make a claim against it, even though, you cannot specifically exclude somebody from a will down here, for instance. The old clause that anybody not specifically mentioned in this will is excluded by intent, and they will be given $1. That it doesn't fly down here. So, but 9 years later, they're still trying to get everything settled. And he had a number of properties that they've all finally managed to agree amongst themselves who's going to get which piece of property. But the court still got to get off its ass and make a declaration, and that could take another 9 years. Yeah.
I want to be rich enough when I die that my tombstone is an ATM And
I love it.
everybody who's supposed to get money has to show up and stand on my grave every month and get their cash.
In $1 bills.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Quarters. Only you, Steve.
Oh, gee, that is hysterical.
We're way past the top of the hour, so
Yeah, we started late.
good day. Well, thank you all for joining us. Take care.
Yep.
Goodbye,
Yeah.
everybody. Have a great week.
And
Bye now.